Hi, and welcome to the I'm You podcast. So I want to address the elephant in the room first. Yes, my hair is darker than it was last time. I'm guessing I probably left on the Just for Men a little longer than 5 minutes, but I kind of like it, so I'm good. Now that we have that cleared up, let's have a little fun before we get started.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, 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 eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
So today I want to address those of you who think Trump is losing. I won't call you bedwetters, but you know who you are. You are worried because now we're getting polls that show Kamala ahead of Trump. Anywhere from 2 to even 5 points in one poll. Do you want to know the truth? She's not winning. Because many of these polls are based on fictitious data. The way these polls are designed and executed are not the way the United States is divided. Right now, believe it or not, for the first time, the country is divided by Republican and Democrat, and the Republicans are actually up by 2%. That means there are 2% more Republicans in the country than there are Democrats. The last 4 polls that came out oversampled Democrats by 2, 3, 4, and 1, even 8% Democrat. So obviously, if you ask 8% more Democrats who they're going to be voting for, they're going to say Kamala, which would make the polls look like Kamala is winning. The problem is that there are not 8% more Democrats. There are not 4% more Democrats. There are not 3% or even 2% more Democrats. There are 2% more Republicans. So any honest poll would be oversampling the Republican respondents by 2%. This is how the left-wing media lies to the country. So why is this important? Well, other than not being truthful, a lot of people will look at these polls and say, if Kamala is winning that much, then there's no reason for me to go out and vote for Trump because he's losing. It's the perfect way to manipulate voters, and these polling companies know that. They are doing it on purpose. So don't get worried when you see these polls that have come up by a few points. Just remember, Hillary was up 7% in almost every poll over Donald Trump in 2016, pretty much right up to Election Day. Multiple Democrat newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post were saying Hillary was going to win by a blowout just days before she lost, and she lost pretty substantially. They were all going by the polls, including their own, by the way. Joe Biden was up 17 points in Wisconsin in 2020, and he won by less than 1 point. Even CNN admits polls have been wrong.
What happens if the polls are slightly off? Remember, back in 2020, the polls underestimated Donald Trump. So what happens if we have a similar error across those key battleground states? Well, if that happens again, look at this. Donald Trump carries all of these Great Lake battleground states. He carries Nevada as well. Of course, he carries Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. And he gets, to get this, 312 electoral votes. So the bottom line is, if we have an error like we did 4 years ago, Donald Trump is going to win this election. Kamala Harris is going to lose.
Another issue with the poll I showed you at the beginning of the show, showing Kamala ahead, in every poll in the country, every time, the economy and immigration are the top issues for almost every citizen, including this recent Sunbelt poll. Now look who's leading in these critical areas. Donald Trump. Check out the CBS reporter talking to restaurant patrons in Nevada. Or is it Nevada? Anyway.
Do you always get together and talk politics?
We do.
Yes.
We do.
So it's our lucky day. We found the right table today. What issue is most important to you?
I'm extremely concerned about the border.
Illegals, they gotta go.
People are coming here seeking asylum.
Baloney. They're coming here for the freebies.
When people talk about immigration, they're thinking we're saying we don't want immigrants of any kind, and that's not what people are saying. People are saying that There are people who have come here legally. Why do they get pushed aside to allow people who have not even worked one day in our country, have not paid into the system?
I want someone who's strong, who demands respect and who gets the respect, and who can deal with foreign leaders. I think Trump's the guy.
There's so much going on throughout the world, in this country as well. But do you remain hopeful about America?
I tell you, I've never owned a gun in my life, and I own 4 of them now.
Really?
Yes. I fear for our country.
So much fun. But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant. And we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person, except for this one guy who I think had too many drinks at the bar. But people are really excited about Trump.
And now, in an even deeper blow to the Democrats, the Teamsters will not be endorsing Kamala Harris. That's huge. Turns out the rank and file are in support of Trump almost 2-1. This is the first time since the 90s that the Teamsters didn't endorse a Democrat. The firefighters union just refused to endorse her as well. It's been almost 40 years since they didn't endorse a Democrat. Also, 70% of the steam fitters are voting for President Trump. And it's now estimated at 65 to 70% of the UAW members are voting for Trump. That's the United Auto Workers. Now, taken separately, these things are anecdotal, but the thing is they're happening all over the country. And the last couple of examples I gave you are in the major swing states that are going to determine this election. 1 or 2 anecdotes may not mean much, but when you see hundreds and hundreds of these anecdotes, it adds up and becomes meaningful. People aren't stupid, and just because the news media and crooked pollsters tell you someone's winning, don't buy it. If they're doing so well, why are they lying about Trump and begging for another debate? With her friends at CNN, by the way. I'll tell you why. Because they're not doing well and they know it. So they're going to need all the cheating and all the subterfuge they can get to try and drag this moron across the line.
Never let anyone take your joy from you. I call myself a joyful warrior. Right? Never let anyone take your joy from you. You do what you gotta do. And isn't that a wonderful way to live? To know you have purpose.
What?
But this time it's not going to work, because we're on to them. Mark Halperin is hearing whispers that the Democrats are ruling out Pennsylvania now.
I talked to 2 people today, Democrats who know the state very well, and they both said that they thought Harris not only was behind in Pennsylvania today, but they thought she was likely to lose the state. They didn't rule out that she could win it, but they thought it was unlikely. And if you believe that, what these people believe, and if you believe that what my source does, that her chances of winning Pennsylvania are quite low, you can't make her the favorite. And you almost can't even say this race is a toss-up, because Harris without Pennsylvania is not in a competitive competition.
Kamala campaigned in New Hampshire the other day. She actually had to bus in thousands of people to her rallies because they couldn't fill the arena. She did the same thing in Savannah, and she was busing people from 4 hours away in Atlanta.
This would be shocking, or maybe like less believable, if we hadn't seen this happen again and again and again at Kamala rallies. We heard of this first when Kamala was doing sort of like a barnstorm through America, and she had events in Phoenix and in Las Vegas. And we heard from people working those events that Kamala Harris had buses coming from LA in order to fill up these like larger arenas. But this is video from New Hampshire of bus after bus after bus taking Kamala Harris supporters. Who knows who they are? We know that they're from Massachusetts. Are they illegal immigrants? Have they been paid a pack of cigarettes and a fried chicken sandwich? Who knows? Nobody knows who these people are on these darkened buses that are being bussed in for a Kamala Harris rally that took place in New Hampshire yesterday.
New Hampshire hasn't gone red in 24 years. The campaign is also spending time in Virginia and Minnesota. I thought those were solid blue states. Why did they need to be defended? And if you're so popular, why on earth would you have to bus people in from different cities to fill the seats in your auditorium? Just saying. And check this out. Kamala is even more unpopular than Biden. Wall Street Journal poll had her underperforming Biden with young voters, black voters, Latino men, and women. That's almost the entire country. And the biggest tell is that the DOJ came out magically just before the election to announce an investigation into, you guessed it, Russian interference in the election. It was a full-blown press conference with the Attorney General, the FBI Director, the Assistant Directors, and the other DOJ personnel.
The Justice Department is seizing 32 internet domains that the Russian government and the Russian-sponsored actors have used to engage in a covert campaign to interfere and influence the outcome of our country's elections.
The same discredited liars of the original Russia collusion hoax are now telling us they're worried about Russia influencing the election again. Well, here's the truth, folks. They're saying that Russia has spent $10 million to influence the 24 elections by giving the money to certain influencers online to spread Russian propaganda, right? There's two problems with this, however. One, when this election is done, all the advertising combined for all the candidates for the presidency, the Senate, and the House will be over $6 billion. 10 million, if my math is correct, is just about 1/1000th% of the total advertising for the candidates. Not much influence in my book. And number two, it turns out the influencers didn't even know the money was coming from Russia. And so far, there's no evidence that any of them have changed any of their positions on their podcast. They're literally just saying the same things they were saying before, only getting money to do it. And the media, of course, immediately glommed on and started inferring or just outright saying that Russia was trying to help Donald Trump. Well, let's see what Vladimir Putin says.
Фаворитов, то не нам это определять. Это все-таки выбор американского народа. И, я уже говорил, у нас, фаворитом, если можно так сказать, был действующий президент, господин Байден. Вот его сняли с гонки, но он рекомендовал всем своим сторонникам поддержать госпожу Харрис. Вот и мы тоже так сделаем, будем ее поддерживать. Трамп, он же ввел столько количества всяких ограничений и санкций в отношении России, сколько до него ни один президент раньше не вводил. А если у госпожи Харрис все хорошо, то, может быть, она воздержится от таких действий подобного рода.
This is total desperation. The DOJ, again, is interfering with our elections and trying to taint Donald Trump. And they're even too stupid to realize that nobody, and I mean nobody, believes the DOJ or the FBI anymore. It's truly pathetic. And if the Dems are doing so well, why all the lying and dirty tricks? And what's next? A new pee-pee tape? A new injecting bleach hoax? How about pictures of David Duke relaxing on the lawn at Mar-a-Lago? If you think I'm kidding, just keep your eyes open because they're coming, or something very much like them. You can be guaranteed it. But people are hip to the lies right now, and it's not going to work this time. Let me leave you with this. The betting markets have Trump beating Kamala by 7 points. So if you're concerned that Kamala is going to walk away with this, take some comfort. Things are not as they seem. But here's the one caveat, as always. They're going to try to cheat, just like they did in 2020. And if this fake Russia hoax 2.0 doesn't work, they're just going to use it when he gets elected to persecute him for his entire term, just like they did last time. So what all of this boils down to is that all conservatives have to vote. You can't win sitting around bitching about the country but not taking action. And a great example of this is evangelical voters, I'm afraid to say. You know, I've talked about holdouts and the protest voters, but I want to address evangelical voters here. There are over 90 million evangelicals in the United States. Did you know that over 40 million didn't vote? And another 10 million aren't even registered to vote. How can you be a person of faith and seeing what's happening to this country, from the crime to the drugs to the cheating on elections to costing you more money to feed your family? And what about abortion? How can you listen to Democrats talking about killing their babies right up to birth and not bother to take 15 minutes to fill out a ballot? Now, I'm not a person of faith, but just looking about and seeing what's happening to our families, our friends, and our fellow citizens by this administration, I can't help but just under common compassion to do what I can to help out. It seems to me if you're a person of faith, you would be compelled to vote, to do your small part to make the lives of your fellow citizens, your family and friends better. I hate to be harsh, but I think it's disgraceful that more than half of the evangelical community doesn't bother to take the unbelievably small amount of time to improve their fellow citizens and their own lives. Please keep this in mind. If evangelicals voted at just the same rate as the general population, there would never be another socialist Democrat in the White House. Ever again. So it's time to step up, guys. Those in states that mail absentee ballots to every voter need to fill it out immediately and turn them in. Here in California, they started mailing them out. I got mine on October 12th and mailed it back on Monday the 14th. They can't cheat on your vote if it's already in. Now, those who don't live in states that have all mail-in balloting, you need to make sure you vote early. The idea that Republicans have had for years that it's best to go to the ballot box on the day of the election is just ridiculous. What happens on the day of the election if it's pouring down rain or, as recently, have a hurricane or tornado that comes to your area? What if your car breaks down or the voting machines just magically stop working? Don't laugh at this. We've lost more than one election for just these issues. The minute you're able to vote, whether you're in the mailing voting area or early voting area, go vote. It's the best way to stop the steal for 2024. Well, that's about it for now. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'd love to get your feedback. So I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.